Welcome to the presentation. Money is energy and energy causes emotion. So money is energy in motion. Now, let me prove that to you. A lack of money causes negative emotions. It conjures and creates negative emotions. Negative emotions cause psychological issues such as anxiety, depression, illness and disease. So literally a lack of money and the worry over a lack of money can cause illness and disease. And as you know, our business at Think and Grow Education is all about controlling your mind and controlling your emotions. For that reason, we've built this presentation. So this is brought to you by Think and Grow Education. How to build your wealth and live a heavenly life. Now, the names that you're coming up on the screen and you see on your screen right now, they're real people with real outcomes. Irina, a licensed real estate agent, followed everything that you're going to learn in this presentation. She followed that and she banked into her account $247,000, but just one property following our processes. Her only regret is that she didn't do two. It's in her full testimonial video. Next, I want you to look at Bronwyn, for example. Well, Bronwyn has just done the same thing. She's just had an appraisal and her wealth has grown by $196,000 just on one strategy and one property alone, and she didn't know what the hell she was doing when she got involved, but she knew she wanted to get involved because she didn't want to risk it, she wanted to build it. Steve, exceptional. Steve has just done his first property sale, and that property sale has netted another $178,000 just in that property sale right there. Besides that, Steve has done many things, was in different processes, and he's built himself a little empire. These are real people. Yvonne, her net worth has just grown by over $200,000. And Kate, amazing story. She'd done her first strategy with us. She didn't know what she was doing. She grossed and netted into her hand $101,000. She ended up with that $101,000 with an investment property, took the $101,000 and invested it into a retail grocery business, which is now booming. Many stories like that. What we want to show you in this presentation is how did they do it, what did they do, and how does it involve you, and how do you follow those same principles. But first, a disclaimer. Me personally and everybody involved working directly as servants and agents in Think and Grow Education are not licensed real estate agents, we're not licensed financial advisors, we're not licensed lawyers or solicitors. In other words, we have no qualification, and from this presentation, if you feel that you need that advice, well then you should source that advice yourself, and just know this, you should never ever make any financial decision without getting advice from a licensed accredited financial planner to ensure that any decisions and choices that you make are in your very best interest. Also, all of the stories that you're hearing here are just based on my own experiences, so always be very careful in following steps and strategies. That's my disclaimer. The three things that stop people taking control of their finances, which is a really emotional area to be involved in, is fear, doubt, and lack of clarity, or I'll call it uncertainty. Fear is the illusion that something bad is going to happen in the future and that most things that we fear will happen in the future. There's research that shows that most of the things that we fear never ever eventuate, and of those things that do eventuate that we worried about, 97% of them are manageable more than we ever thought. Doubt is just simply information coming from people who are uncertified, unqualified, and lack the experience to give you advice, such as your neighbor over the fence who says, don't invest in property, my dad done it in 1932 and he lost $2.50 or $10,000 or $1 million, whatever. That is all the wrong advice. So you always take advice in this level from people who have built what it is that you're trying to create. Uncertainty is simply a reflection of a lack of knowledge. So when we lack knowledge, we end up in the realm of and the emotion of uncertainty. Those are the three top fears, doubts, and uncertainties that stop people doing the things that you would love to do. Now, let me show you the reverse of that. How do you conquer your fear? Make sure that you've got a why. In other words, if I don't do this, what's my future going to look like? That creates a different sort of fear. So make sure that your why is bigger than your doubt. It's bigger than your uncertainty. Next, doubt. How do you get rid of doubt? Just don't take advice from the guy over the fence. Don't take advice from your mum and dad who haven't done the things that you want to do. They're just not having the life experience to give you that advice. So make sure you get it from people who've built and created what you'd love to create. Uncertainty, how do we conquer that? Knowledge. Just get new knowledge and information. That's exactly what this presentation is about. And all of a sudden then at the end, you'll start to feel better. You'll start to feel sure. You'll start to feel clear. And next, plan the living daylights out of your future. It's such absolute clarity and certainty that your plan is greater than your fear, that your plan is greater than your uncertainty, that your plan is greater than your doubt. That's exactly what you're going to get in this presentation here. First, we're going to do an exercise. Now, if you've done this exercise already, it's okay to do it again. I would strongly suggest that you go through the motions of this exercise because repetitive knowledge, is memory. It goes like this. First off, I want you to add up everything that you have in your life financially, and I want you to put it on a piece of paper. You'll pause as we go through this short presentation as we reflect on your life financially. And then we get back into the presentation again. So, number one, add up your savings, your superannuation, money that you have in the bank, money that you have saved somewhere, and the equity in your home. That means the value of your home today, you can make it up if you need to. You can just Google it. It doesn't have to be spot on. You don't need a certified valuation. So the equity that you have in your home right now is the value that it is today, less the mortgage. Put all of those numbers together, pause the video and add them all up. Then, next step is this. What age are you right now? And I want you to subtract your age from the age of 18 years of age. So let's say, for example, you are 43 years of age and you subtract it from 18, that's 25. That's 25 years. Write that one down. Now, why do we use 18, 43, 68? It goes like this. On average, the average person works from 18 years of age to 68 years of age. That's 50 years. So you get 50 years to get your finances right. You will earn on average, if you're earning $70,000 to $80,000 per year, you will earn on average $4+ million in your lifetime. And the intention is to show you how to be able to save 10% of that and get that 10% back out working for you. Now, some of the things that people are doing with your money, your salary, your equity in your home, and you manage funds, you're going to be shocked when you go through what other people are doing with your money before you even get it and how they're making money on your money. Now, so you take those as an average, 68 to 18. Doesn't matter when you start at work, we just use those numbers as the indicative in this equation. So you've got whatever age you were since you were 18 to today, whatever that answer is. You have your net worth. You've just added that up. Divide this smaller number into the bigger number. That is how much you've accumulated per year on average since the day you started working. Pause the video, do the exercise. Next then, I want you to take the age you are now and subtract it from the age of 68. Doesn't mean you have to wait to 68 to retire. We're just going to use it as an indicative number. So now what is that? So let's say that's 20 years. So you've got 20 years to retirement on average. You know how much you accumulated per year based on the sum you just done a moment ago. Take that per year number and times it by that smaller answer, your age today to your age of 68. That is a much based on your past experience that you're now going to accumulate and your past achievements that you're going to accumulate between now and retirement. Sure, it might differ, it might be more, it doesn't matter. We just need indicators, and this is how you develop your indicators. So now, you know how much you're going to accumulate based on your past experience between now and the age of 68. Take that number and add it to your net worth. Combine both together. On average, in principle, that's how much you're going to have at retirement. Now, how much do you need at retirement to be financially free? Well, ASFA, the Association for Super Funds Australia, and many other banks and organisations have deemed financial freedom and equated that. And they've equated it to about $62,625 per year. That means when you get to retirement, you need $62,625 per year to live and survive in financial freedom, not struggling, in financial freedom, so that you can go on 2 or 3 holidays per year, change a car every 5 years, repair the house, and you're not worried when Christmas and birthdays come about where am I going to get the gift, where am I going to get the money from. That's financial freedom. I'm not talking about wealth, I'm talking just about the basics of human existence, financial freedom. So you need $62,625 per year plus your home paid off at retirement and no debt. Now, to determine how many years you need that for, just know this. We are living longer, way longer. You'll see those numbers as we go through. So I want you to take it that you're going to live to about 93 years of age, because if you're less than under 60, on average we're living longer, the body is living longer, and medical advances, it doesn't make any difference, just take 93. So you subtract 68 from 93 as an average. Retire at 68, you can go earlier if you wish, live to 93. That's 25 years. Now, times that by $62,625, that's financial freedom. It doesn't mean when you work that number out that you need that money in the bank at all. Those people whose names and whose outcomes that you just saw, they done that with us in a short period of time. This is not 10 or 20 years that they made that money in, that they accumulated that wealth in at all. This was short periods of time. So now, just imagine if you, for example, were Irina, and you had done 4 of those over that period of time, and you kept reinvesting that. Just imagine where your number would be now. That's the intention here. So now that you've done that exercise, that's your why. Your why is, if I don't do that, I'm going to fall short, and just imagine what it would be like to fall short financially. On the other hand, if you do this, if you come down that road and you take full control of your finances, that's going to be your outcome. Imagine how you would live then. So it's about ease versus challenge. In other words, if you don't do something about it, what's your outcome? If you do something about it, then what is your outcome? Now, we're going to get into statistics and numbers, and I'm going to show you all the rules in building wealth, in building abundance, in building your financial futures. I'm going to show you those rules. And just know this, when I talk to you about statistics, statistics are a mathematical mirror reflection of what happened in the past. And if you live your life based on those mathematical statistics of what happened in the past and follow what other people in the past done, you'll have the same outcome that they will have. Most people in the past done nothing about their finances. They literally did not have enough money for financial freedom in retirement. Now we're going to go into different sorts of statistics. We're going to show you the negative statistics, and then we're going to show you the positive statistics. And the positive statistics will definitely encourage you to step up, take charge, take control, and do something. Let's get in there. 78% of wealthy people now who became financially free, which is wealthy of course, and went beyond that. So we're talking high net worth individuals and ultra high net worth individuals. 78% of them done it in financial holdings and property. They have property to thank for their wealth. So they're wealthy people. So if wealthy people have done it in property and real estate, is that something that you need to consider? They went from wish, want and hope to do, act, become, which is planning. So they plan their success, they plan their financial futures. So it's about acting and planning. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show you the mechanics and the mathematics of a plan. It goes like this. You're going on a camping trip for 2 weeks and you're going out into the bush, you and your family alone. And in the bush then you're going to have to self-sustain. So you're going to have to apply mathematics. And those mathematics then will help you make sure that you survive. We're going to do the same with your life plan in just a moment. So you're going to the bush. And in the bush, you're going to be away for 2 weeks. So you calculate how much water you will need to drink so that you can bring enough water, how much food you will need to eat so that you can bring enough food, and how much fuel you need to provide for yourself so you got the fuel to get in and out. They're the mathematics. So all of a sudden then you're buying food, you're buying water, you're providing fuel, all based on the mathematics. That is a plan. And because you have that plan in place, you will get out, you will do your bush run, and you will come back and you will survive. What we're doing now is we're doing the exact same process for your future. We're applying the mathematics, we're applying the science to that. So Irina, for example, done her first property with us, netted herself, banked herself in the bank $247,000. Now she could have kept that property and just kept going and kept going and going, and she'd done that in a small amount of time. This did not take a decade. In a small amount of time. Like I said, her only regret is that she didn't do 2 of them. But she done that, and when she did and got involved at this level, she saw greater opportunities and more opportunities. So she decided to get rid of the first property, bank the $247,000, take it and put it into an investment, into a land development. So she turned a small idea into a huge idea, because we planned this many, many years ago. And we built this out many years ago, and then we started to teach people this strategy and this plan that you're involved in right now. Now let's see how it's going to influence you. So we're going to do another calculation now. So you need your pen and paper, and you need to pause as we go along the way. Let's say Irina, for example, stayed in for twice as long. How much would that have netted her at the end of the day? Do that calculation. Now, let's say she's done that with 3. Do that calculation. Now add all of that up and now work out what her net worth would be from that. Yes, she's taken a bigger step, a bigger trajectory, going on a bigger story. That's fine. But let's say she stayed on this lower level one, like you could. What would that mean to her? Now think about that number now and write down what that would mean to you in your life, in your financial future. It's about getting your hands on as much debt as you can comfortably manage, something that a lot of people probably tell you not to do, most likely the broke people. We don't call it debt. Entrepreneurs call it leveraging. It's a completely different thing. And during the moment and the time period that you hold that debt, it's about finding somebody to pay the interest for you. And this is where the magic happens. I was 23 years of age. By that stage in my life, my mentor had literally forced me into my first 2 investment properties. So as a 21-year-old, I was collecting rent and I was still living at home, struggling to grow a moustache, but I'm out collecting my rent on a Friday. And that for me was very, very unique. And as a 23-year-old, I had 2 investment properties. And at that time, most people in my life, in my family and friends, were saying to me, that's dangerous, that's difficult, the property market could crash. But my mentor was saying to me, Ray, build your wealth in property. Get out, work, make money, take it, put it out into the field, get it working for you, build bricks and mortar. Thankfully, I listened to him and I didn't listen to everybody else. And my mentor, by the way, had a magnificent property portfolio, as his whole family did. So I was in a very blessed situation. I wasn't listening to the naysayers, and they weren't naysayers. They were just people that were indoctrinated that they got to be afraid. This guy knew, no, if I have the knowledge, I don't have to be afraid. And that's what you're getting here. So right then, would you believe, I was given the opportunity by a Jewish investor, a Jewish landlord who owned a lot of properties in Dublin at the time, to buy from him 9 of his investment properties. I bought my first property for $24,000. I bought my second property, it cost me about $15,000. This investor offered to sell me 9 properties with tenants in them, all paying off the rent and the mortgages and so on and so forward, for $50,000 for all 9. And I remember at the time, this old guy, he was dying, he was very, very sick, he was passing away, he knew that I was investing, and he just gave me the opportunity to sell me all 9. So what I done was I got into the car with some people that I know, family and friends. We drove around looking at them. I wanted advice. And at the end of it, we all went home to my house, sat around my kitchen table, and everybody around the table said to me, don't do it. But my mentor was in my ear saying to me, do it, Ray. Get in and do it. Build your wealth in real estate and property. Property will always go up in value. And what did I do? I listened to the fear and I didn't do it. And I can tell you exactly what that cost me when the Celtic Tiger hit in. The economy really, really boomed right then at that moment in time. Those properties collectively were worth over $3.5 million for $50,000 investment that I didn't do. And many of you have made that mistake. Have you made that mistake? And how is that mistake reflected on you? Now, let's get further into it. The question is, who pays off the interest? So what we do is we borrow money, we put it out working into the field, we have to pay interest to the bank. But to pay the interest to the bank, we find a partner who's going to come in and pay the interest for us for years. What's that partner called? It's called a tenant. So a tenant becomes our business partner. So a tenant is our business partner. Now the tenant, as I said, is going to pay the interest, but not just any tenant. So in effect, what I'm about to tell you now is the science of property investing, where most people get it wrong. They buy an investment property in an area because somebody said it's good, and they don't follow any strategy or system whatsoever at all. Remember, we've got licensed real estate agents who didn't follow their philosophies, they followed ours to get this outcome. So this is the science of investing now. So a low income tenant is not the type of tenant that you want. There's nothing wrong with low income people. The fact though is that they're just not good at managing their money, and because they live on a low budget, their necessities of life become more important than your rent, and because of that then sometimes that can cause you a struggle, a financial struggle. So we don't provide properties in that market. Other people do, we don't do that. Next then, high net worth individuals. If we provide tenancies, properties for high net worth individuals, we have to have a property that goes over the median value of a property at the particular time, and that is not a good remedy. That is a mix for disaster. So what do we look for? We look for what's called a medium income earner tenant. Police, nurses, fireys, contractors, workers, tradespeople, office staff, and so on. They're a medium income earner. So these are the people that we build our properties around. Now I said the word build, really important word that you're going to learn as we go through the presentation. So we don't just buy a property and put a tenant in. We look at what the tenant want in that little window where the highest concentration of tenants are medium income earners, and we provide their necessity of life, a roof over their head and a door to lock to keep the wolf out, a home. We provide that to those people. So we follow the market and we provide the market what it wants, not what everybody tells us to do. Completely different science that it helps us to add to our success in what we're doing. So we follow the medium income earner tenant. We provide for him or her or them, and we build a property around them, and we're giving them that necessity of life. They're our partner. They pay off the interest to the bank. The property grows in value. We make the profit at the end of the day. That's part of the formula. So rule number 1 is about knowing your tenant. So your tenant is 1.5 to 2 people in the home working. That means one person works full-time, other person is working at least part-time. That's the ideal medium income tenant that we look for. This is who we provide the necessity to. Next, they've got children in school or about to leave school. So they need to live somewhere close to public transport, for example. Next, the rent needs to be calculated on a property value lower than the median income of the property in that city or area right at that time. Next, they're close to entertainment. Next then, they don't want to live on a main road. And next, they want new and fresh. They want a new, fresh property. So look at what's coming up on your screen, and these are all the rules. And that is rule number 1, to know your tenant and know what their need is, because your tenant is your business partner. These are the people that make you wealthy. So it's about providing for them. Rule number 2 is know the rule of communication. Know how to communicate. How do you communicate with your tenant? So you got a partner. It's called a tenant. They live in your home. They pay the debt back to the bank for you. They're paying the interest. You're carrying all of the rest of that. And you've got a real estate agent in the meantime. And I'm not being disingenuous to real estate agents at all. But the fact of the matter is this: you need a strong line of communication to your business partner. And some property managers can be very kind of adverse in their approach towards your business partner. The very person that you need to rent your property, the very person that's helping you get wealthy. So you need to be working with a company who knows how to manage a strong and develop a strong line of communication directly to your business partner, so that you're never upsetting your business partner, but at the same time, they are fully in control of your property, of your investment. And the rule of communication is rule number 2. It higher and outranks all of the other lower tier rules, because it is so important, and it's how most people and investors absolutely get it wrong after they've got into their investment property. This is your nest egg, this is your future, this is your kingdom that you're building, and you need a very, very strong line of communication. Rule number 3, know your property. Never invest in established, always buy and build new. First reason, you've got no warranty when you buy established. You need a very, very strong warranty, because this is going into the rental market now. So it's not going to be looked after as well as your home would be. Very, very important. Next reason why you always stay away from buying established is you're following other people's strategies. You don't know whether there's a strategy behind that. You're just picking up any old property that you believe is going to be, okay for you. So you very, very much stay about that. Also, you're buying other people's problems. So whatever problems there are on that property, you've just inherited those problems, the ones that you can't even see in the future. That's a very, very important rule. Rule number 4, know the strategy. Use other people's money. Bring a partner in and have that partner pay for that money for you. You then keep the profit, so you've used the bank's money and your tenant's income to build your wealth. Golden rule number 4, very, very strong rule. Rule number 5, know the rule of the cycle. You get into your first property, it goes through a cycle. We'll talk about more on that in a moment. I'll explain exactly what that means to you. Next then, you get into your second property, and that goes through a cycle. You get into your third property, and that goes through a cycle. And as the third property goes through a cycle, the first property that you bought some years earlier, that you invested in some years earlier, is now going through its cycle, and the whole thing just continues and continues and continues. So just imagine having those properties going through cycles, and the whole cycle just continues, and you're extracting the wealth, retaining those properties and extracting the wealth along the way. So as you can see by the chart coming up now, a cycle is when something of value does a full spin of the wheel and it doubles in value. So for example, I take $1, I invest it, I buy something with it. That something doubles in value goes to a value of $2 over 12 months. That means the cycle was 12 months, 1 year. Now I take $1,000. I put that into the market. That $1,000 things that I've invested in reaches a value of $2,000 over 2 years. That's a 2-year cycle. That's how cycles are determined. Now I come along, I take $100,000, but I don't have $100,000. I've only got $20,000. So I take my $20,000, I borrow the other $80,000, I put that into the market. That reaches a value of $200,000. I pay back the 80. I've now got $120,000. Now I come along and I do the same thing with $200,000, but again, I don't have it. I've got $80,000. So I take my $80,000, I borrow the balance of the money, I have somebody else pay the interest while I hold their money, and I come along then and I wait till that doubles in value, and that goes from $200,000 to $400,000. I pay back the money that I've borrowed, the whatever that was, and I'm left with a profit. Now we do it with $600,000. but you don't have $600,000. So what you do is use your equity that you have, you come along and you go to the bank, you borrow the money, you have somebody else pay the interest to the bank, that property goes through its cycle and you keep the profit. Now, what you're going to struggle with is this. You're going to say to yourself or to me, you're going to say, yeah, but properties won't go up in value anymore, right? They can't possibly go up in value. Listen, they've been saying that since 1972. They've been saying that since 1872 and 1572. It's the same story throughout history. It is a fallacy, it is wrong, it is completely incorrect. That story alone is the reason that people do not build their wealth, because they listen to that delusional story. Fact of the matter is this: they've been telling that story since the day you arrived in the birthing suite. Don't fall for that illusion. Property increases in value over time. I'm going to show you the chart to that in just a moment. Rule number 6, know the mountain. Be aware of the mountain. There is a mountain of money out there that people give away and make money by giving that money away. They call it interest. Now what you're doing is you're paying that interest, so you're allowing somebody else give you money so they can make money on the fact that you've taken their money, but you're coming along and you're taking somebody else's money, which is your tenant's money. So your tenant's money is funding your financial freedom. Your financial freedom that you're doing is funding somebody else's process. And just know this: because there's a rule called knowing the mountain, there is a mountain of money out there, and it's about knowing how to tap into that. And at this end of this presentation, we will show you exactly how to find out if you can tap into that mountain of money. Rule number 7 is the rule of knowing the numbers. Let's say, for example, you take a $600,000 property, you put that into your portfolio. That property goes through a cycle of between 8 to 14 years. I'm not saying that that's the cycle, I'm just using numbers. That's an average of 11 years. Now remember, those people whose names and outcomes that you saw earlier in this presentation, they've done that in way less than this time, but we'll just use that as a conservative approach. $600,000 properties going to go through a cycle. We'll use 11 years. That means that with that one property, your wealth is accumulating by $54,554 per year. That is $1,048 per week. Now, over a period of time, you've got 3 investment properties. With those 3 investment properties, when they're going through their cycle, not at the end of the cycle, only when they're going through the cycle, your wealth is growing by $3,144 per week. Now, we've all heard the stories. Don't invest in properties, the property market will crash, you lose all your job, go back to sleep. Well, that's how most people live and operate. Let's get into the next stage. This is really cutting edge stuff. And why does it even get more exciting? Because of this fact. Since Moses bought his first 1 by 1 for a shekel all those millennium ago, the property market has been increasing in value. Now, this next chart that you're seeing shows you the trend. Properties goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. That's just a trend. That's the way it is. That's not a rise and a boom. They're corrections. They are part of this cycle phenomenon of property and real estate. Now, this next image that you're looking at right now, this next slide, is showing you property values in Australia since 1972. 1972, 16,600. In 1975, it doubled in value, 66,400. In 1983, it doubled in value again, 132,000. In 2001, it done the same thing. In 2016, look where it is right now. And look at the numbers today. And just know this, that when those people sat and watched those planes hitting those twin towers, and the average median value of a property was $270,000, had anybody told them back then that 20 years later, plus a little bit, their properties would be worth a median value of over $1 million, $1,032,000, they would have scoffed and laughed at that. But that is reality, that is fact. So again, statistics show you past trends. Past trends means past people and past traits. You follow the trends and the traits of those past people and you get the same outcome that they would have achieved. So ask yourself the question when you're looking at that chart. Back there in 2001, for example, or even in 2016, 600,000 up to over $1 million today. How many would you do? That's the answer that you need to ask yourself. That's the question that you need to ask yourself and the answer that you need to come up with. If you'd love to hear a great suggestion, I done this many years ago. I still have that note today. I'd love you to write this down, get your pen and paper, just pause if you need to. All those years ago, my mentor said to me, he said, Ray, as I leave you now, walk off into your life, you're going to be faced with many opportunities to do great things and to make money and to build your life, build your business, build your wealth. When these opportunities come your way, a couple of things will happen. Number one, you won't know how to do them. Number two, you won't have the courage to do them. Number three, you won't have the money to do them. And number four, you won't have the time to do them. I remember those words so well. And at the end of that sentence, he said to me, when those four things happen and you have an opportunity that you know you must take and you don't know how to do it, you don't have the courage to do it, you don't have the money to do it, you don't have the time to do it, he said, do it. I remember that so well. Make sure you've written that down. Now, let's get into the numbers of things as we go in here. 86% of Australians don't believe that they have enough money for retirement. 73% are worried that employer contribution superannuation won't be enough for their retirement needs. 18% of Australians invest in property. Now, that does not mean that all property investors are successful. I'm going to show you that in a moment. 81% of Australian retirees have only the pension to rely upon. 5% of Australians achieve financial freedom and independence. 40%, this is a shocking number, of Australian workers are forced into retirement before they're financially prepared for retirement. That's due to company upsizing, company downsizing, takeovers, illness, sickness, disease, accident, whatever it might be. Deloitte said this, they are the largest professional services network in the world. Most Australians are currently retiring on a benefit far less needed to sustain them in retirement. The CPA, that is the board that represents the accountancy profession, the board representing the accountancy profession said this, compulsory superannuation has had a minimal impact on Australia's capacity to save for a self-funded retirement. Rule number 8 is the rule of knowing your why. So just know this, for those people who don't take charge of the financial future, they run out of money, run out of savings, run out of super, and eventually some of them, and most of them in fact, have to sell the family home just to live in retirement. And also know this, right now somebody else is using your money. They're using your managed funds, they're using your savings, they're even leveraging off the equity in your home and trading that on the financial markets. That's right, the equity in your home is being traded on the financial markets for other people to make money on that, leveraging off those contracts that you're not even aware of. So the question is, why don't you look at involving yourself and you using what's at your disposal to build your wealth instead of allowing everybody else to do it for you? Now, we're going to get deeper into things. We're going to show you how to find your why. To know your why means you need to involve yourself in rule number 9, knowing your how, because the how will give you the why. And the numbers go like this. 78% of high net worth individuals became wealthy through property and equity investments. So in other words, like we said earlier, people who know how to make money make it in real estate and property. The number of millionaires in Australia will grow by 82% in the coming years, and many will do it through property. The next image that's coming up for you shows you this. In 2015, all those years ago, Australia created 43,500 millionaires as indicated by the Sydney Morning Herald, March 2nd, 2015. So that means millionaire numbers in Australia are growing. In the same chart, you can see this. Brisbane median values are around $800,000, while median values in Sydney are $1.6 million. Now, what does that mean to you? Well, you're going to have a boom moment in just a moment, a wake up in just a moment. The next image is showing you this. As far back as 2015, the Observer wrote, Brisbane will be the next Sydney from a boom perspective. The current shortage of housing in Australia is growing massively in another article. Another article said this, 1.25 Australian millionaires became millionaires thanks to real estate and financial holdings. The next image that's coming up shows you this. By 2043, Brisbane will be the same size as Sydney is today. Remember, all of these people that you've seen their videos and images coming up, these people are from Perth, Melbourne, Adelaide, Sydney, and so many different areas around Australia. They do not live in Brisbane and Queensland, who made these profits, and they've done it based on these Brisbane properties by following the science around property investing. So, high net worth individuals created their wealth in property. Our clients too have property to thank for their increased wealth. Billions upon billions are being invested into Brisbane infrastructure and lifestyle facilities as we speak right now. And rule number 10 is knowing that there's rules. So there's rules here. You need to ask yourself, can you follow these rules? Rule number 1 is this. If you're prepared to just take pot luck, then this is not something that you should be doing. This is not a lottery. Rule number 2 is you have to learn to manage your finances at a higher level than most other people around you. And rule number 3 is that you have to be prepared to develop a very strong, precise, clear, detailed plan for your future, because people who plan their futures bump into that plan on purpose. People who don't plan their future bump into everything by pure chance and pure speculation. They're the 3 rules. Are you prepared to play by those rules? Are you prepared to follow those rules is what you need to ask yourself. And therefore your determination will have to be bigger than your doubt. Your insistence will need to be bigger than your cultural critic around you. And your certainty will need to be bigger than the vision that you've ever had in the past to help yourself to get over the line. Now, I'm going to show you in a moment how you take that very first step just to explore the possibility. And remember, this today is just for you about exploring possibilities and exploring opportunities. And the very last rule of all is to know, what is my next step? Rule number 11. Your next step is this. All you got to do is follow the prompt. And what's going to happen is you need to complete a form called a personal finance inquiry form. And that form will go to somebody who's accredited and licensed to look at that form. And that form will include your details, your financial details. That person then will come back to you and say, based on what you've included in this form, yes, you can do it at this level, and this is the level you can do it at. And don't be fearful and afraid and think, I don't have the capabilities to get in at this level. There's many other things that we can show you how to do. But the first step is to do exactly what it is that we're telling you to do and advising you to do now, which is to fill out that form. So fill the form out and send that in to us. And I'll just give you a very quick recap before I leave you at the end of the presentation. Just know this. People have built their wealth through real estate and property. Property has always gone up in value. Most people around us tell us to be afraid and fearful because they've never done it. They're not the people to take advice from, ever. Just know this. Since Moses, like I said to you earlier, bought his first house for a shekel, property has always gone up in value, period. And in Australia, Brisbane is the new Sydney. It's been written about, it's been put out there, it's on the World Wide Web, you can find it. And just know that when you get involved and you build your property portfolio, and before you do that, you build your plan, at least by building your plan, you can remove uncertainty and step into a field of certainty. And I just want you to imagine this. It's 10, 12, 13 years down the road, and you have just three investment properties. What is that going to look like for you? And before I leave you, I want you to understand this. In 2015, the shortage of housing in Australia at that moment in time was 248,000 houses that Australia was short. 20 years after that, so by 2035, the shortage of housing in Australia today will be 640,000 houses that we will be short to provide people who need homes. So they need to move out and stop living in multiple apartments and stop living on top of each other. And all you need for your financial freedom is 3. So the market is huge. The intent is out there. The demand is out there. And you have an opportunity now to fill that demand and to leverage off that demand. And the magic of the whole thing is this. Someone else gives you the money and someone else pays the interest. Fill the form out and we'll see you when you do that. Enjoy your day.